I'm going to get into what a mess Donald Trump has been over the past 24 hours, and frankly, really since Vice President Kamala Harris replaced President Biden at the top of the Democratic ticket. But on Labor Day, I want to start with this. Thank a union worker, thank unions, thank the labor movement for Labor Day. And we here at the MeidasTouch Network want to let all the workers out there, all the union members know that we stand in solidarity with you, and we will keep using our platform to make sure we support and amplify your voices. All right, with that said, why don't we just show you this video and just to remind you of the contrast to the pro-labor sentiment of Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz to Donald Trump. Remember when Donald Trump a few months back was in that non-union shop in Michigan that he paid $20,000 from his political action committee or his campaign to pretend it was a union shop, and then he said to all of the workers out there, we don't like what you're picketing for, while he had non-union workers hold up a sign that said union workers for Trump. You remember that? I'm going to get into the events of the past 24 hours, by the way, including the fact that Donald Trump freaked out over the Ipsos ABC poll that has him down 6 among likely voters to Vice President Kamala Harris. But I just want to remind all of us of this moment. Let's play this clip.
In other words, your current negotiations don't mean as much as you think. I mean, I watch you out there with the pickets, but I don't think you're picketing for the right thing. But if they...
And while we're at it, can I show you this? When Donald Trump was being interviewed by Elon Musk, and he applauded Elon Musk for firing workers who went on strike. Remember that? Here, play this clip.
This cutter, I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But, you know, if you look at Argentina...
You know, and I know as Donald Trump wants to say, well, look, I'm putting forward ideas like no taxes on tips. Well, guess what? When Donald Trump was in office, you know what his policy was? Because there's actually a record if we do our research together. I'm sure you know, right? Donald Trump wanted to pass a rule that would allow bosses, the employers, to steal the tips of the service workers. Trump's plan was not no taxes on tips. It was no tips on tips. It was give the tips to your boss. And it had to be through a Democratic amendment to an omnibus spending bill that stopped Donald Trump's labor secretary from implementing that rule. It's why I always say it is important that we look at the legislation. We look at the voting record. We see what the people are doing. So, for example, when the MAGA Republicans or Trump or JD Vance tried to say, well, look, we're supporting IVF. Of course we're supporting IVF. Well, then why was it when there was a bill proposed by Democrats that would provide constitutional protections or nationwide legal protections to IVF, you voted against it, or you didn't vote at all, and you stopped it from coming into law? Well, JD Vance was asked that question. Let me show you what his response was.
How would this work if a state, and you believe that states should have the right to make these decisions, if a state bans IVF, but Donald Trump says he wants to guarantee and or pay for IVF for everyone who wants it, how would that work if a state banned it?
Well, John, I think it's such a ridiculous hypothetical because Alabama, which is maybe the most conservative state in the entire union, has actively protected fertility access and fertility treatments. There's no state in the union, whether a right-wing state or a left-wing state, that I think is trying to ban access to fertility treatments. And if Alabama is protecting this stuff, I think it's safe to say the whole country is as well. So,
well, but the court,
look, I think that what Donald Trump again wants to do is protect access.
Who's to say there's not another court in another state that could decide that IVF should be banned? It happened in Alabama for a minute. You also voted against a measure in the Senate that would have guaranteed access to IVF around the country. So it's possible, right?
Well, two things, John. First of all, yes, a court made that decision in Alabama, and like the next second, the Alabama state legislature fixed that problem and ensured women had access to these fertility treatments. And all that I voted on, John, is for religious liberty.
As you know, I'm a dad, and as the days go on, I'm learning that it's incredibly important what we give our children. Now, typically, children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise. They're filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy junk growing kids should frankly never eat. That's why Hiya was created, the pediatrician-approved superpowered chewable vitamin. Now, while most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk. Yet it tastes great and it's perfect for picky eaters. Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment that our kids need with a yummy taste that they love. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else you could imagine. Now, Hiya is designed for kids of all ages and sent straight to your door so parents have one less thing to worry about. Like I said, I'm a dad and I want to make sure that I give my child the best possible vitamins, and that's why I'm so happy that I've come across Hiya Health. The ingredients are amazing and I don't have to worry about sugar or gummy junk because Hiya Health is made without that stuff and it's still able to taste great. Now, we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. Now, to claim this deal, you have to go to hiyahealth.com/Meidas. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/Meidas and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults.
All right, I went on a little meandering tangent there, but I thought it was important on Labor Day to reflect on that. I think it's also important to reflect on the contrast, by the way, between these different campaigns to see what's really going on here. On the one point, you have Governor Tim Walz posting things like this: "We've got something better to offer the American people. Freedom, opportunity, compassion, and fairness. And it all starts with Kamala Harris." And on the other hand, you have Donald Trump's top surrogate, Laura Loomer, wearing a convicted felon hat and saying, "Picked up a new hat today in Alabama. I'm voting for the convicted felon." But sure, she's just a surrogate who Donald Trump praises over and over again. Let me show you what Donald Trump was posting on X, formerly Twitter, today. Now, Donald Trump had made these posts before on Trump Media, but now he just wants to let the whole world know on X exactly who he is. So he posts these AI-generated images like this right here, and it says, "Kamala Harris pledged free health care for illegals. They're coming to collect." And it uses an AI-generated image of people online in front of a hospital. So Trump made up a fake issue and now is using fake AI photos, and that's how he's running his campaign to try to inject fear. But I just say this: where was your health care plan, Donald Trump? I mean, you're making up that Vice President Kamala Harris pledged free health care for illegals and just dehumanizing human beings with that language. But where was your health care plan for the American people? Remember? Because I distinctly remember, because facts are facts, when you said in 2 weeks you were going to roll out a big, beautiful plan. The plan was going to be better than Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, which, by the way, you and the MAGA Republicans tried to repeal, but for John McCain giving the thumbs down, millions of Americans would have lost health care. Millions of Americans would have been denied health care for pre-existing conditions. That's what you wanted to do. You never had a plan. In fact, like the phony con artist that you are, you showed people a binder filled with blank pages and said that the blank pages were your plan. On the other hand, we now have we have negotiations taking place for Medicare by the Medicare administrators, lowering prescription drug costs. The cost of insulin has been capped and lowered. The Affordable Care Act has been expanded to millions and more people under the Biden-Harris administration. Veterans under the PACT Act got life-saving care. Over 1 million claims processed, and that's probably getting closer right now to about 1.5 million claims processed. So we actually have a track record for this thing, but all you have is fear and AI-generated images, or this AI-generated image. No one is safe with Kamala's open border, and you have someone who like has a knife in their hand in a alleyway. I mean, this just shows you also how desperate he is. Then it says, meet your new neighbors if Kamala wins. Just xenophobic, racist. I don't know who these people are. These are AI-generated images. But I do remember what happened on January 6th. Here's a real image right here. Meet your new neighbors if Trump wins. These were the people who you had tried to overthrow a free and fair election and attack the Capitol building. I remember it very, very vividly. And, you know, as we reflect on, again, the difference between these two campaigns, one filled with joy and optimism in Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz, and the other with Donald Trump, filled with hate and fear. You know, I'm also reminded, and look, we do talk about this stuff here on the MeidasTouch. Here he is dancing with Jeffrey Epstein, and here he is again dancing at the Moms for Liberty convention right there. Same dance. I mean, just look as you watch that, just how utterly creepy is that, by the way? Like, how creepy is it? And while I was on the topic of speaking about who Donald Trump's friends are and showing you what he did on the January 6th insurrection, this is what Donald Trump said during his interview with Fox, with Mark Levin, who talks like that. He goes, I'm Mark Levin. He said that Vice President Kamala Harris is vicious. He said she's vicious. Do you see how she treated Justice Brett Kavanaugh when she was cross-examining him about whether he would overturn Roe v. Wade? She was vicious about that, Donald Trump says. He goes, she was vicious to Mike Pence. Did you see how vicious she was to Mike Pence during the debate? This is what he said. Here, play the clip.
Things are happening that are so crazy. I think there's no human being that was ever treated worse in Congress than Justice Kavanaugh.
And Harris led the battle.
That's right. Oh, she was vicious. Oh, she was the most vicious. She was going after them, just like with Mike Pence, where she said, you're interrupting me. I want to talk. And that's why, look, ABC is probably the worst in terms of fairness. George Flopadopoulos, the people they have there are just terrible. Jonathan Karl. But that's the only one she'll go to. Now, the other one is the head of ABC is her best friend and her husband's best friend, too.
By the way, in that same interview with Mark Levin, Donald Trump also said that he sees nothing wrong with him interfering with a presidential election. He goes, why is that a crime, interfering with the presidential election? Here he is on his own words saying it. Play this clip.
Whoever heard you get indicted for interfering with a presidential election where you have every right to do it? You get indicted and your poll numbers go up. When people get indicted, your poll numbers go down.
And while you have all of that going on, can we just contrast that to the ad that Vice President Kamala Harris just put out and is running in battleground states, and that she aired during the Georgia-Clemson game? Here, play this clip.
Every day across our nation, families talk about their plans for the future. And they talk about how they're going to achieve them financially. And prices are still too high. When I am elected president, I will make it a top priority to bring down costs. We should be doing everything we can to make it more affordable to buy a home. Under my plan, more than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut. I will help families, letting you keep more of your hard-earned money. As president, I will be laser focused on creating opportunities for the middle class that advance their economic security, stability, and dignity. If you want to know who someone cares about, look who they fight for. Donald Trump fights for billionaires and large corporations. I will fight to give money back to working and middle-class Americans. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Powerful stuff right there. So again, going to the poll that has Vice President Kamala Harris up by 6. Also, her favorabilities. She has a net positive favorability. Trump has a net negative. Same thing, JD Vance, net negative. Governor Walz, net positive favorability. We're talking about 10, 12, 23-point gaps in favorability of Kamala Harris and Governor Walz over Donald Trump and JD Vance. And I guess I'll post this one over here as well. As Donald Trump continues, this is posted by Dan Green, as Donald Trump continues to say, like, Governor Walz has destroyed Minnesota, the state is horrible, blah, blah, blah. He just lies. Here it is right here. And like he goes, hashtag fall of Minneapolis, folks. Here's the fall of Minneapolis. You can see it right here. Well, again, I want to thank all of the union workers, union leaders, workers in general, people who paved the way for the labor on this magnificent Labor Day. Again, an important day. And all I could say is that, it's because of your work that you allow us to, even be here and to be able to do these videos every day. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. And we'll keep making videos every day. Have a wonderful one.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.